Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this syllogism chapter, which we are discussing about the important concept of syllogism, a very important portion when we are talking about logical reasoning part of any competitive examination. The images used in our slide deck are for educational purposes only. We respect the intellectual rights of the original creator and owners of these images. If you are the owner of any of the images used in the deck and have any concerns or queries, please contact us at sathi@iitk.ac.in and we shall remove the images. So, my dear students, as you remember that in our previous lecture series, we were discussing about the different types of questions that you might end up facing whenever you are going to uh, sit for any competitive examination, especially when you're talking about the logical reasoning portion of any of the competitive examination. Often you will see syllogism as a very important part of those examinations. So, as you know, that in this particular examination, we are talking about, in this particular lecture series, we are talking about syllogism, and we are practicing the different type of syllogism that might turn up in your examinations as such. तो उसी चीज को मद्देनजर रखते हुए हमने इस लेक्चर सीरीज में सिलोगिज्म के डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ क्वेश्चंस को सेटअप किया है और वी आर ट्राइंग टू प्रैक्टिस दीज टाइप ऑफ क्वेश्चंस ऑन डेली बेसिस ताकि आप लोगों को एक एफिशिएंसी मिल सके और एक करेक्ट अप्रोच आप लोग यूज कर सके whenever we are trying to solve any of the syllogism questions that might turn up in your competitive examination. As you already know that we have discussed the types, the concept, as well as the tips that is very important whenever we are solving syllogism questions. So in the same manner, in today's lecture also, we will be continuing with those questions which we have left in our previous video. So in this particular questions also, the same approach needs to be followed. आपको मैं 15 seconds दूंगा. In 15 seconds you have to understand the statement, and after understanding the statement you have to draw the Venn diagram. The Venn diagram should complement the statements that has been given, and जो solutions इस videos में आपको दिखेंगे वो solutions maybe they are correct, maybe they are not correct. So it will be totally upon the statements and our analysis to figure out whether these solutions also are correct or not, which are going to represent the Venn diagram. And after we have analyzed and after we have come to this particular conclusion that yes, this particular statements and the Venn diagram are complementing each other. They are both the Venn diagram as well as the statements are saying the same thing. दोनों के दोनों सेम ही चीज बता रहे हैं. Then only we will move towards the conclusion. And through the Venn diagram, हम लोग कोशिश करेंगे फिगर आउट करने के लिए कि जो स्टेटमेंट्स दिए गए हैं वो स्टेटमेंट कितने सही हैं और जो कंक्लूजन उससे डिराइव हो रहा है वो कंक्लूजन एक्चुअली में वो कंक्लूजन्स है कि नहीं है. So with this, students, I would now request you all to keep your pen and paper handy with you, because the first question for today's lecture is right now in front of your screen, and I would request you to kindly go through the statement which says that all mangoes are fruits, some fruits are yellow, and no yellow is red. And you will try to draw the Venn diagram of these questions, and then we will figure out whether the Venn diagram that has been given a solution and that has been made by the students are correct or not correct. Okay, so my dear students, your time starts now. All mangoes are fruits, some fruits are yellow, no yellow is red. Okay, my dear students, your time's up. Now let's try to figure out what could be the correct method of drawing the Venn diagram. So my dear students, the first statement, again, the first statement that is in front of you says all mangoes are fruits. All mangoes are fruits. Whether this particular diagram, which is representing the Venn diagram, which is representing the relation between mangoes or fruits, are correct or not, my dear students. My dear students, your question, the answer the Venn diagram of this particular statement says that all mangoes are fruit. The Venn diagram which is being represented, is it correct, my dear student? Is it correct? No. The Venn diagram which is in right now in front of you is not correct, because as you can all see that there is certain portion of mangoes which is outside the circle which is representing the fruits, meaning which some of the mangoes are not fruits according to the Venn diagram, which is not true according to statement number 1. The statement number 1 says all mangoes are fruits. The correct representation of the Venn diagram of this particular statement would have been that there should be a circle which is representing mango, and then there should be a bigger circle which is representing fruits, and the mango circle should be entirely contained within the set of fruits. Now this particular diagram conveys a correct relation between the fruits and the mangoes, where which it has been mentioned according to statement number 1 that all fruits are mangoes. So all fruits are mangoes. This should be the correct representation of the Venn diagram for the statement all fruits are mangoes. Now the second statement says some fruits. The second statement is saying some fruits are yellow. Now yellow and fruits, if you see the relation between the circle which is representing yellow and fruits, there is no overlap. There is no overlap, meaning which this statement is conveying that no fruit is yellow or no yellow is fruit, which is not true according to the statement. So this particular representation of the Venn diagram is also not correct for statement number 2. Statement number 2 says some fruits are yellow. So some fruits are yellow. The diagram should have been represented in this manner, where which yellow should overlap a certain portion of fruits. Now this particular Venn diagram is correct, which represents that some fruits are yellow also. Now, no yellow is red. Now, no yellow is red. No yellow is red. This particular Venn diagram is correct because there is no yellow which is red. Both the circle which is representing yellow and red are not overlapping each other, meaning which the third statement, the representation of the Venn diagram is correct. Though the first statement is being represented here with the Venn diagram, second represents here, and the third one is here. So now based on these three Venn diagrams, we will try to conclude that what can be the correct conclusion of it. The first conclusion says some mangoes are not red. Some mangoes are not red. Is it true? Is it true, guys? Some mangoes are not red. There is no relation between mangoes and red. And so this particular statement, some mangoes are not red, are correct. All mangoes being yellow is a possibility. All mangoes being yellow is a possibility. So if you can see, my dear students, there is a relation between fruits and mangoes, where which it has been clearly said that all mangoes are fruits according to statement 1. Now, second statement says that all mangoes being yellow is a possibility. It could have been a possibility if there was have been a reason. But what we can see here is that there are certain fruits where which they are overlapping with yellow. We cannot come to this particular conclusion by the Venn diagram that whether or not mango can overlap the whole yellow circle, or meaning which mango and yellow should have any sort of relation through this Venn diagram. So what we can suggest from this particular statement is that all mango being yellow, if this would have been like this, of all mangoes being yellow, then this particular statement would have been obviously false. Now, it is saying that all mangoes being yellow is a possibility. Whenever the word possibility comes up into play, we need to first figure out that whether we can infer from this particular relation of the Venn diagram where which all mangoes are fruits. So, if this statement would have been all mangoes which are fruits are yellow, then obviously the statement would have been correct. In this particular statement, what we can see is that all the mangoes are yellow. All the mangoes are fruits. So if all the mangoes are fruits and some of the fruits are yellow, there is a possibility that this could have been the scenario, but we cannot come to the conclusion. We cannot conclude that this statement is correct because there is no relation, direct inference we cannot take. And as you remember, in the statement, in the question itself, it has been clearly mentioned that you have to take the three given statement to be true, even if they are at variance from the commonly known facts, and then decide whether the given conclusion logically follows or not. So now all mangoes being yellow is a possibility. We cannot conclude, we cannot come to this particular conclusion. Therefore, the answer for this particular question will be only conclusion 1 follows. So the correct answer of this particular question will not be answer C, but rather answer A, because we cannot come to the conclusion. We cannot say this. There is a possibility of the mangoes being thoroughly through yellow. Yes, there is a possibility. There is certain sort of possibility that this might not happen. But since there is no reference between the relation, then we can keep that as we can say that this particular possibility, there is a possibility. Obviously, there is a possibility, but we cannot conclude to the best of their knowledge. So the answer of this question can either be 1, or it can be either C also. So it can be either A or C. Sometimes when you solve syllogism, there are chances that instead of one answer, you will get two answers. And that is not, this is not something which you can say that, sorry, yeah, it is not possible. It is actually possible. The reason being, certain times the statements that has been provided infer an entirely different setup, and other things entirely different setup. So that is why it is important for us to understand that certain times conclusions may or may not be true. Here, what we see is that all mango being yellow is a possibility. This particular conclusion, how can we say that it is a possibility? Because there are certain fruits which are yellow. There are certain fruits which are yellow, meaning which this diagram would have also been represented in such a manner that the mango portion should have overlapped the mango portion should have been inside the yellow circle also. But since there has been no relations as such, there has been no statement which says that this could have been a possibility. If we take it in a direct sense, only conclusion 1 will follow. But if it has been mentioned is a possibility, we can conclude that this second statement may or may not be true. So that is the reason we can say that only conclusion 1 may follow, or both conclusion 1 and 2 follows. Not all this only conclusion 2 follows is not true. Neither this will not be true. Either conclusion 1 or 2 follows. This particular statement we cannot take into consideration, because we know that conclusion 1 obviously follows from the statement. So for this, the answer could be answer A or answer C, depending over the possibilities, depending over the Venn diagram, the representation of the Venn diagram. Okay, my dear students. Okay, I suppose you have understood that there can be a chance where which you will see that there can be 2 answers instead of 1, but you need not worry about the same. If you are marking any of those answers, then also you will be getting 100% marks. कभी-कभी होता है कि जो आप वेन डायग्राम्स के थ्रू रिप्रेजेंटेशंस आती हैं और जो कंक्लूजन्स डिराइव होते हैं, उन कंक्लूजन्स में देयर माइट बी सम difference in opinions according to the paper setters who are going to make the papers. For them, certain times we have to stick to the statement that has been provided, and certain times there is a flexibility that has been given by the readers, by the question paper setters. So usi hisab se we can either mark the answer as A or C, depending over the conclusions that has been provided. I suppose you have understood the scenario here. Now, we will be moving forward and we will try to solve another set of questions that will be in front of you. In the same manner, you will be given a certain point of time in which you will have to figure out what could be the correct conclusion of those statements that will be in front of you. So my dear students, आपके सामने जो next question है will be there. Now please try to solve these questions within 15 seconds. The statement reads as some pens are pencils. The first statement is some pens are pencils, all pencils are erasers, and no eraser is sharp. So there will be a circle that is going to represent pens. There will be a circle that is going to represent pencils. There will be a circle that is going to represent erasers. and then there will be a circle that is going to represent sharp. Your time starts now, my dear students, to draw the Venn diagram of this particular question. Okay, my dear students, I suppose you have drawn the Venn diagram correctly. Now let's try to figure out, according to the solution that has been provided, whether the Venn diagram which is being reflected on your screen is correct or the Venn diagram that you have drawn is correct. Let's try to analyze the following statements. The first statement says that some pens are pencils. So the diagram which represents pens is this. The circle which represents pens is this, and the circle which represents pencils is this. This is the circle which is representing pens. So now if you can see, there is some overlap, suggests some overlap between pens and pencils. So the first Venn diagram, which is representing the relation between pens and pencils, is absolutely correct. Now the second statement says all pencils are erasers. Now all pencils are erasers. If this would have been the correct state, if this would have been the correct Venn diagram, अगर ये बिल्कुल सही representation होता, तो my dear students, आपने notice करा कि certain areas of pencils is outside the circle of eraser, which is not true according to the statement. So therefore, the correct representation of this particular statement would have been obviously pens and pencils should be like this, and then erasers. So erasers will be like this, where which we can say that all the pencils are now within erasers. This is erasers, this is pencils, and this is pen. Now, no eraser is sharp. Now this is eraser, this circle is representing eraser, and this circle is going to represent sharp. Now, as you can see, this will be the correct representation of the Venn diagram, which is suggesting some pens are pencils. Yes, we can showcase that some pens are pencils. All pencils are erasers. This statement is also correct. No eraser is sharp. No eraser is sharp. This particular statement is also correct now. Based on the Venn diagram and the statements that has been provided, we will try to figure out whether this particular statement is correct or not. Some pencils are not sharp. That is some pencils are not sharp, since there is no relation between pencils and sharp. The first statement is following. Now, all pens being eraser is a possibility. All pens being eraser is a possibility. Now, as you can see, my dear students, there is some overlap between pencils and erasers. Okay. And the statement says all pens being eraser is a possibility. All pens being eraser is a possibility. So if this would have been the overlap, there are chances that the whole eraser portion would have been inside it. So therefore, we can infer that there are chances that all pencils being eraser is a possibility. Again, the word is possibility. In the previous question, as you can see, that there was no overlap between all mangoes and fruits and this particular portion. Because what we would have seen here is that some fruits are yellow. All mangoes are fruits. This is the first statement that was provided. Some fruits are yellow. Some fruits are yellow. Yes, some fruits are yellow. Obviously, some fruits are yellow. But in this particular statement, what we can see is that there is no relation between pens and erasers directly. But there is an inference. There is an inference through pencils, which we can see that there is an overlap. Some pencils are pens. So those pens who are pencils are obviously erasers. That can be understood. Yes, because there is an overlap between pens and pencils, which we can showcase that there is some portions of pen or maybe some pens who are erasers also. Those pens which are pencils are erasers also. Why? Because some pens are pencils and all pencils are erasers. So some pens which are pencils are erasers. Can we come to this inference? Yes, we can come to this inference that some pens who are pencils, which are pencils, are also erasers. And some pens, if some pens who are pencils, which are pencils, are erasers, then there can also be a possibility that all pens being eraser is a possibility. All pens being eraser is a possibility. So students, अभी ये हमने जो दो क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करे, question number 22 and question number 23, there was a difference. There was a difference. Why? Because in the earlier question, there was no direct relation that we could have inferred. There was a relation between that was between fruits and yellow. All mangoes are fruits. So we cannot say all fruits are mangoes. First thing. Now some fruits are yellow. So now some fruits are yellow. Are you getting my point? आप लोग मेरी बात समझ पा रहे हैं? जब हम लोगों ने लिखा all fruits, all mangoes are fruits, जब हम लिख रहे हैं all mangoes are fruits, तो हम लोगों ने एक बहुत ही क्लैरिटी के साथ बताया कि मैंगोज जितने भी हैं वो फ्रूट्स हैं. Can we say the contrary of it? That is, all fruits are mango. That statement will not be correct. Some fruits are mangoes. That is correct. Some fruits are mango. That is correct. Some fruits are mangoes. That we can say. Some fruits are yellow. Some fruits are yellow. That can also be taken into consideration. But what we cannot take into consideration is that fruits and yellow, the mangoes and yellow has any sort of relation between them. So I suppose you have understood the scenario here, my dear students. The difference between question number 2 and question number 22 and question number 23 is that in the first question, you saw that there was a relation, there was a direct relation between the fruits and the yellow. But here, there is no direct relation between the pens and the eraser. So therefore, we have to infer. And by understanding this particular Venn diagram, what we can ensure is that this particular statement can be inferred कि जो pens हैं, वो जो pencils के साथ common area select कर रहे हैं, this whole pens could have been inside the circle of eraser. This is a possibility because there is a direct relation between pen and eraser, which we can confer through understanding both the statement number 1 and statement number 2. Statement number 1 suggests some pens are pencils. Opposite of it is some pencils are pens. That is true. Now all pencils are erasers, meaning which all pens which are pencils could be erasers. It is a possibility. Therefore, all pens being eraser is actually a possibility. So my dear students, don't get confused. I will again tell you, don't get confused between the statements that so पहले वाले statement will be almost same चीज थी, इस वाले statement will be same चीज है. No, there was not a direct relation between mangoes and yellow. So therefore, the statement which suggested all mango being yellow is a possibility. But in this particular statement, all mango being yellow cannot be a possibility. Now, but in this particular statement, what we can see here is that there is a relation. There is a relation between pens and eraser through pencils, because some pens are pencils and all pencils are erasers. So we can say that some pens are erasers also. Why we come to this particular conclusion, my dear students? So if you remember that we discussed different type of syllogism. While we were discussing different type of syllogism, we discussed Syroids also. Syroids is that type of syllogism where which the subject on the one part and the predicate on the one part can be taken into consideration because there is a possibility. So taking that thing into consideration, question number 23, which suggests all pens being eraser is a possibility. This particular statement is correct, and same goes with conclusion number 1. Some pens are not. Therefore, answer for this question would be both conclusion 1 and 2 follows. Not only 1, not only 2, not this one, neither this one. And don't get confused that sir, क्या इसका आंसर B only option A और only option C हो सकता है? नहीं, इसका आंसर सिर्फ और सिर्फ ऑप्शन नंबर C होगा, क्योंकि यहाँ पे हम लोग डायरेक्टली इन्फर कर सकते हैं थ्रू द वेन डायग्राम that yes, there is a possibility that pens and pencils have since the pens and pencils have a relation, therefore eraser, which is taking all the portion of the pencils, can also take the whole portion of the pens. Therefore, all pens being pencil is a possibility, my dear students. The answer for this question C is absolutely correct. I suppose you have understood the questions in a clear manner, in a crisp manner. Now, again, I will be moving forward and we will be solving one more question so that you are very much acquainted कि किस तरीके से जो सिलॉगिज्म में ये पॉसिबिलिटी का जो वर्ड अब नया इंट्रोड्यूस हो रहा है, ये हाउ कम it is going to change the answers, the landscape of the answers, and how the conclusions will or will not follow from the Venn diagram that we will be going and we will be drawing. Okay, my dear students. Now, let's move forward and let's try to solve question number 24. So, question number 24 suggests statement 1, which says that no cars are bikes, some bikes are scooters, and all scooters are vehicles. No car are bikes. Okay, no cars are bikes, some bikes are scooters, and all scooters are vehicles. Now, based on this particular statement, you have to draw the Venn diagram. Now, from this point onwards, we will be providing you only 10 seconds to draw the Venn diagram, and your 10 seconds time starts now. Kindly draw the Venn diagram as soon as possible. So, my dear students, I suppose you have drawn the Venn diagram. Now, we will be moving forward and we will be figuring out that whether this particular statement is correct or not. No statements are no cars are bikes, so there shouldn't be any overlap between cars and bikes. But what we can see here is that there is some portion which is showing that there is an overlap. Although it is not a clear indication, but there should be clear gap between both the circles. So the Venn diagram, which is representing the relation between cars and bikes, is not correct. It should have been represented in this manner, that there should be car and the separate circle which should be representing bikes. So this is car, this is bikes. Now this particular statement is very true and correct. Now the second statement which says some bikes are scooters. Some bikes are scooters. Some bikes are scooters. This particular statement has been represented by the Venn diagram, which is correct. Some bikes are scooters, which is correct. Some bikes are scooters. This can be also drawn like this. This is scooters. And all scooters are vehicles. All scooters are vehicles. All scooters are vehicles. Again, all scooters are vehicles, meaning which there will be a circle that will overlap, that will be entirely contain the scooters, which is going to represent the vehicles. So the correct Venn diagram for this particular question will be this and not the Venn diagram which has been drawn. And I will again request you to cross verify. हम लोग इसको क्रॉस वेरीफाई भी करते हैं कि क्या जो स्टेटमेंट्स अब दिए गए हैं हमारे सामने, क्या ये जो वेन डायग्राम है ये इसका करेक्ट रिप्रेजेंटेशन है या नहीं है. तो पहला स्टेटमेंट कहता है नो कार्स आर बाइक्स. नो कार आर बाइक. देयर इज नो रिलेशन बिटवीन कार्स एंड बाइक्स. देयरफॉर this statement seems to be correct. Some bikes are scooters, some bikes are scooters. Yes, we can see that there is an overlap between scooters and bike. So this particular statement is correct. And all scooters are vehicles. All scooters are vehicles. All scooters are vehicle, meaning is there is an overlap between the whole circle of vehicle will encompass the circle which is going to represent scooter. तो ये जो है आपका correct Venn diagram है. Now let's try to figure out what is the right answer. Some vehicles are not cars. Some vehicles are not cars. Some vehicles are not cars. There is no relation between cars and vehicles. So all vehicles are not cars. No vehicle is car, or some vehicles is not car. All the three conclusions are correct. All the three conclusions are correct. So this particular conclusion seems to be correct. Some cars are scooters. Some cars are scooters. Some cars are scooters. Is it a possibility? Some cars are scooters. We cannot say that some cars are scooters because there is no direct relation between cars and scooters. So obviously, the second statement which suggests that some cars are scooter is not correct. Some cars are scooters is not correct. So the answer for this question will be only option 1 or conclusion 1 follows. So the correct answer is answer A. आप लोगों को समझ में आया? इस क्वेश्चन से आप लोगों को शायद थोड़ा सा जो कॉम्प्लिकेशंस होते हैं सिलोगिज्म के वो और क्लियर हुए होंगे कि यहाँ पे अगर आपने एक चीज नोटिस करी तो वो ये कि व्हीकल और कार्स के बीच में देयर वाज नो डायरेक्ट रिलेशन एंड इवन इफ वी ट्राई टू इन्फर दैट there can be some bikes which can be scooters which are scooters are vehicles, but then there also is no relation between cars with those scooters, bikes and vehicles. Therefore आपका conclusion 2 will not be correct. Only some vehicles are not cars are actually correct because there is no direct relation between cars and vehicles. So I suppose you have understood this particular question also. Now we will be moving forward and we will be solving another set of questions for your better understanding, my dear students. चलिए अब हम लोग चलते हैं अपने लास्ट क्वेश्चन पे. इस क्वेश्चन में हम लोग डिस्कस करेंगे सेम सिलोगिज्म, but this time instead of giving you 15 seconds, you will only be getting 10 seconds to solve this particular question. Questions is right now in front of you. Statement says all chairs are tables. All chairs are table. No table is bed. Some beds are sofa. It is an easy question, my dear students. 10 seconds for you starts now. Please draw the 10 seconds. Please draw the Venn diagram within 10 seconds and we will then figure out whether the conclusions or the statements that has been provided is correct or not. Okay, my dear students. Now, we will now move forward and we will try to understand what exactly the conclusion says. The conclusion says that all chairs are tables. Is this the correct Venn diagram for the statement that has been provided, my dear students? Obviously not. Obviously not. Why is it not the correct representation of the Venn diagram? See, overlapping but not entirely contained within the circle of tables. But what is the statement saying? The statement is saying that all chairs are tables. Some of the chairs, according to this Venn diagram, is not within the table. Therefore, this is not the correct representation. Correct representation, this is the circle which is representing chairs, and this is the circle which is representing table, will now be the correct representation of the statement number 1. Now, no table is bed. No table is bed. Correct. So there is no table which is bed. There is no relation between tables and bed. According to the statement number 2, there is no table which is bed. And according to the Venn diagram also, there is no table. There is no overlap between the circle which is representing table and the circle which is representing bed. Therefore, this particular statement has been correctly represented through the Venn diagram that is in front of you. And some beds are sofa. So some beds are sofa. This is the correct representation of the Venn diagram. Only the first statement was not correctly drawn according to the Venn diagram, but rest of the Venn diagram representing statement number 2 and statement number 3 were absolutely correct. I suppose आप लोगों ने भी जो वेन डायग्राम ड्रॉ करा होगा वो कुछ इसी प्रकार का होगा जिसमें कि जो बड़ा सर्किल जो टेबल को रिप्रेजेंट कर रहा है उसके अंदर आपका छोटा सर्किल जो चेयर को रिप्रेजेंट कर रहा है वो होगा, मीनिंग विच all chairs are tables. This is what it is being represented here, that all chairs are tables and no table is a bed. No table is bed. There is no relation between tables and beds. So this particular statement is also correct. And the third statement says some beds are sofa. Some beds are sofa. Yes, that is very true that some bed is sofa because some overlap between beds and sofas are there. Now, based on this particular statement, let's figure out some sofas are not tables. Some sofas are not tables. Since there is no relation between tables and sofa, this particular statement that some sofas are not tables, absolutely that is correct because no table is sofa. So this particular statement is correct. Now no chair is bed. No chair is bed. Since all the chairs are within the table and there is no relation between tables and beds, so obviously all the chairs will also have no relation with beds. So the second statement which suggested that no chair is bed is also correct according to the Venn diagram and the statement that has been provided, my dear students. So conclusion 1 भी सही है, conclusion 2 भी सही है. What does that mean? My dear student, that means the answer for this particular question will be conclusion C. That option number C, which says that conclusion 1 and conclusion 2 follows. Right? Is it correct? Are you now 100% sure that this will be the right answer for this question? Yes. Why? Because हमने Venn diagram को draw करा है. Venn diagram को draw करने के बाद we are 100% sure that this will be the correct representation of the statements that has been provided. And after analyzing the Venn diagram, we can infer that both the conclusion 1 as well as conclusion number 2 is following. I hope for today's lecture, you have understood the complicated scenarios of the word possibility, when the word possibility will be taken into consideration, and when the word possibility will not be taken into consideration whenever we will be solving the question of syllogism. The statements are also very important. Whenever we are drawing the Venn diagram, the statement has to be taken into consideration, and nothing apart from the statement has to be considered whenever we are drawing the Venn diagram. After drawing the Venn diagram, analyzing both the statements and the Venn diagrams are complementing each other, then we will figure out whether the conclusions can be taken into consideration or not. So I hope आज का लेक्चर आपको समझ में आया होगा. जो क्वेश्चंस हमने सॉल्व करे हैं, that were also very interesting and a little bit complicated also for the students who are new to this lecture. But if you will continuously keep on practicing these type of questions, I'm pretty much sure that you will be able to answer each and every syllogism in a very crisp, clear and precise manner. So with this, I will now take your excuse and I will wish you a very best of luck again for your preparation of competitive examinations. And we will be meeting in our next lecture, which we will be continuing practicing these type of syllogism questions, and we'll try to figure out what will be the correct answer of the questions that will be in front of you. So till then, thank you so much, guys. May you have a very wonderful day. Bye-bye.